Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. I've got a new headphone set, and it's odd. It's peculiar to me. I got to get used to it. Apologize about the oddity of it to begin with. Now, the oddity of it, this, this video is about the Odyssey. This is a summary of the Odyssey, the book, Homer's The Odyssey. Um, this here is what we're talking about. Homer's The Odyssey. This is one version of it. This is a poetical version by Alexander Pope. Let me give you an example. This is a very early The Odyssey. So let me start it off here. It's in book one. Um, I'm not sure how much of it is this an introduction that he might have wrote or that is written by somebody. You know, um, uh, I kind of got to read an introduction to be sure about this. But what am I saying here? No. Um, but it starts off with a, a kind of an explanation of book one, right? Minerva's descent to Ithaca. The poem opens with 48 days, within 48 days of the arrival of Ulysses in his homeland of Ithaca. He has been on the island of Calypso for 7 years, and the gods call a council to engineer his release and his return to his dominions. It is decided to send Mercury to Calypso, and Minerva immediately descends to Ithaca. She holds a conference with Ulysses' son Telemachus in the shape of Mentor, king of the Taphians. Believe that's how you pronounce that. She advises him to journey to Pylos and Sparta in quest for his father. Then, after having visibly displayed her divinity, she disappears. Meanwhile, Ulysses' wife Penelope is beset by suitors who riot in her palace until night. Phemius sings to them about the return of the Greeks until Penelope puts a stop to the song. There is an altercation between the suitors and Telemachus. This is all book one. Then Telemachus calls the council of the lords of Ithaca um, for the following day, and all retire to bed. So I'm going to do a faster little um, explanation of the Odyssey, if you will, more uh, just condensed, if you will. I'm not going book by book that much detail, in other words. But let me read this so you get the idea of how this one is written in a, and I may not be reading it very well, but you'll get a feel for how Alexander Pope wrote this back in, when did he write it? In the um, Alexander Pope. Oh, come on. It's not that recent. There we go. 1725 and 26. So, early 1700s here. And here we go. The man for wisdom's various arts renowned, long exercised in woes, O muse, resound, who when in his arms he had wrought the destined fall of sacred Troy, and raised her heaven-built wall, wandered from clime to clime, observant strayed, their manners noted, and their states surveyed. On stormy seas unnumbered toils he bore, safe with his friends to gain his natal shore. Vain toils, their impious folly dared to prey on herds devoted to the god of day. The god vindictive doomed them nevermore, amen, unblessed, to touch that natal shore. Oh, snatch some portion of these acts from fate, celestial muse, and to our world relate. So, you get the poetic uh, theory of that, if you will. Just much poetry, and you kind of have to decipher it which is not bad. It's just the way it is. All right, but um, and it's I'm not saying that you should read the poetic version, but it wouldn't be bad to read a poetic version um, after you read it, maybe once in a kind of a novel or open prose form, something like that, that it gives you the full sense of everything, as it were, and then do it poetically and see how it's contained that way. Um, and I'll go over in the other video these uh, other translations, and just it'll be a little bit longer just because of the number of translations we're going through, both of the Iliad and the Odyssey. But here, let's go through just a summary of the Odyssey from Homer, and in light of in light of this, or in light of the movie from Christopher Nolan, to see what differences, massive differences there are. How, to me, the Odyssey told by Christopher Nolan is not um, doing justice to telling the story of Homer. Now, it can be Christopher Nolan's Odyssey, and that's fine. There's room for all of this, all of that thought, um, but to to call it Homer's Odyssey seems to me incorrect. Basically. But let's get on this. So part one um, is books 1 through 4 about Telemachus. Focuses on him and coming of age and searching for his father. As we read there, that it opens 40 within about 50 days of his return, Odysseus's return. Of course, it's using the Roman terms like Ulysses and Minerva, and so forth. But anyway, we're going back to Odysseus, and anyway, Telemachus coming of age, searching for his father. Book 1, the gods and Telemachus. Athena convinces Zeus to free Odysseus. It's kind of like an introduction, even. He's been away so long, and then it seems to go back. In my opinion, it feels like it moves back in time, but I'm not sure. Uh, but let's continue on this. Athena visits Ithaca in disguise, saying this is done at the same time, though, and inspires Telemachus um, to act. Uh, so Athena visits Ithaca in disguise and inspires Telemachus to act. Book 2, Telemachus and the Suitors. Uh, Telemachus confronts the suitors at a town assembly. Athena helps him secretly sail away from Ithaca at night. In Book 3, Telemachus and Nestor. Telemachus visits King Nestor in Pylos, learns about the fate of other Trojan War heroes, but gets no definitive news of his father. Book 4, Telemachus, Menelaus, uh, and Helen. Telemachus visits Sparta, King Menelaus. Um, and I've mispronounced any of these. Forgive me if you pronounce it differently. That's fine. I'm just reading as I read it. Reveals Odysseus is alive, but trapped by Calypso. Meanwhile, suitors on Ithaca plot to ambush and murder Telemachus on his return trip. Then we got part 2, Odysseus' escape and flashback tales, books 5 through 12. So this is how the story really starts with Odysseus, other than that very beginning. But book 5, Odysseus and Calypso. Hermes orders Calypso to release Odysseus. Odysseus builds a raft, sails away, and gets wrecked by Poseidon's storm and washes ashore on Shria. All right. So we didn't read past it. We didn't get to the next part. The next part of the poem or the story where we were up in book one, Athena is, going to speak to not Odysseus, but Zeus about Odysseus. Poseidon's off at a sacrifice or something like that, some sacrificial feast, something in honor to him. So he's off watching that and not paying attention to Odysseus. Again, Hermes orders Calypso, so they send Hermes to Calypso and say, "You're done, holding Odysseus, and release him." Now, if you watch the Armando Sante version, then you see that. Of course, it's later on in the film. They don't do this at tell it from the beginning to that. They reorder and tell that in a very chronological way. That's the way the story is told with Armando Sante, um, in that miniseries, which is a way to do it. But if I mean, Christopher Nolan could have taken this approach and jumped to this and done it just this way, and um, it would have made more people happy that were real big fans of the Odyssey. But what you have is a whole lot of people that are very ignorant of the Odyssey. I'm very ignorant of the Odyssey myself. I admit to it, but I know some. And but you know, you have people that are very ignorant of the Odyssey, and here you know, here you go. You just like, oh yeah, that's great. He told the Odyssey well. Like, no, he didn't. It's inaccurate. But you got people playing. But anyway, he washes ashore this Shreya, Scheria. Then book six, Odysseus and Nausicaa. Odysseus wakes up naked on the beach. He is discovered and assisted by Phaeacian princess, not Phoenician, by the way, but Phaeacian princess Nausicaa. Book seven, Odysseus and King Alcinius. It's Alcinous. And somebody out there knows how to pronounce these really well. Could really tell us all how it should be. But anyway, Odysseus enters this palace, the Phaeacian palace. Queen Arte and King Alcinous grant him total hospitality without knowing his name. Odysseus and the Phaeacians. A blind bard sings of the Trojan War, making Odysseus weep. The king notices his grief and asks for his true identity. Book 9, Odysseus flashback. Uh, um, Cyclones, I think that was right. Um, Lotus Eaters, Cyclops. Odysseus reveals his name and narrates his past, sacking the Cyclones. It's Cicones. So I'm saying Cyclones. Might be Kycones or something. I don't know. Escaping the drug-like lotus plant and blinding the Cyclops Polyphemus, which angers Poseidon. Book 10, Odysseus' flashback, Aeolus, uh, Lestrindonius, Lestrindonians rather, and Circe. Excuse me. He receives a bag of wind from Aeolus, ruined by his crew. Um, Survives cannibal giants. Lives for a year with the witch goddess Circe, who turns his men into pigs before helping them. And then book 11, Odysseus' flashback, the underworld. Odysseus travels to the realm of the dead, speaks with the prophet Tiresias. It might be Tiresias. His deceased mother and fallen war heroes like Agamemnon and Achilles. Book 12, Odysseus' flashback, Sirens, Scylla, or Yeah. Helios' cat. He survives the singing sirens, navigates between the monster Scylla and the whirlpool Charybdis. He eats His crew eats the cattle of Helios, causing Zeus to destroy their ship. Odysseus drifts alone to Calypso's island. All is lost. Part three: the return to Ithaca in books 13 through 16 focuses on Odysseus' secret homecoming and his reunion with his son. Book 13. Odysseus and Athena, the Phaeacians drop Odysseus off on Ithaca. While he sleeps, Athena disguises him as an old beggar so he can scout out his palace safely. Book 14, Odysseus and Emmaus. Um, Disguised Odysseus visits his loyal swineherd Emmaus. He tests Emmaus's loyalty without revealing his identity. In Book 15, Telemachus' return. Athena guides Telemachus safely past the suitor's ambush. Telemachus lands back on Ithaca and heads straight to Emmaus' hut. Book 16, Odysseus and Telemachus, father and son, reunite in Emmaus' hut. Odysseus reveals his true identity to Telemachus, and they plan their revenge against the suitors. In part 4, the infiltration and revenge, books 17 through 24, which is, of course, the last book there, 24, focuses on Odysseus entering his palace in disguise, the slaughter of the suitors, and the final peace. Book 17, Odysseus enters the palace. Odysseus arrives in his own palace dressed as a beggar. The suitors abuse him, and his old dying dog, Argus, recognizes him. Book 18, Odysseus and the Palace fights. Odysseus box fights a real beggar named Iris. The suitors mock him, um, and Penelope appears to extract expensive gifts from the suitors. Book 19, Odysseus and Penelope, Euryclea. I'm just sitting there thinking if I pronounced it right. Forgive me. Odysseus speaks with Penelope in disguise. His old nurse Euryclea washes his feet and recognizes him by a distinct hunting scar on his leg. Book 20, The Prelude to Battle. Odysseus and Penelope spend a sleepless night. The suitors gather for a festival, unaware of deadly omens appearing around them. Book 21, The Trial of the Bow. Penelope challenges the suitors to string Odysseus' heavy bow and shoot an arrow through 12 axe heads. All suitors fail, but the beggar effortlessly strings it and shoots. Book 22, The Slaughter. Odysseus drops his rags, locks the palace doors, and massacres all 108 suitors with the help of Telemachus, Emmaus, and Athena. Book 23, Odysseus and Penelope's test. Penelope tests Odysseus' identity by ordering the bridal bed to be moved. Odysseus proves it's him by explaining the bed is built into a living olive tree. Book 24, The Aftermath and Peace. The suitors' souls go to the underworld. Odysseus reunites with his elderly father, Laertes. Athena steps in to stop a civil war between Odysseus and the suitors' angry families, establishing lasting peace. Okay, so that's how, according to what I just read you, at least, that it goes. And um, a basic summary. And this could be told, could be put into a movie and call that the Odyssey. That's the way you do that. Otherwise, you say based on the Odyssey, inspired by the Odyssey, telling a story that's similar to the Odyssey with some elements of it. You know, all for that. That's another thing. Or we're retelling the Odyssey in a completely different way, um, with just some elements of it, but we want to tell our own story, and we want to get across to you this idea that we have. Call it something else, you know. So I'm perfectly fine with calling this new movie Nolan's The Odyssey, or Christopher Nolan's Odyssey, if you will. Uh, dropping the if you want to. So that to me is that. That is where I am with it as far as the story is told. You can go. I mean, there's spoilers. It's an old story. You should have read it already. But this doesn't spoil the entire story. This just tells you the direction it's going and everything, which you already know. So even if you just watch the Odyssey, you know the end of the story. He gets home and has these this problem at home he has to deal with. Does he leave after that? No. I mean, otherwise, other than going to sacrifice and on do a sacrifice and honor his men, and honor their sacrifice and death and stuff like that, which you could say probably happens. We're just not we're just not going into detail about it, and it's not a self-imposed exile or an exile imposed by Telemachus or anything else, theoretically, or you know what I mean, supposedly. Anyway, um, yeah, somebody do a movie like that, great. Uh, uh, when Elon Musk offered, well, somebody challenged him to offer, and he said, "Done." To fund by the tune of 100 million, to have Mel Gibson uh, um, create the Odyssey. I'm all for it. Go ahead, get that done. I would love to see that. It'd be great. Uh, I believe he would try to do it right. Do it all in Greek. Cool. Have actual Greek actors and actresses. Great idea. That to me would be wonderful, and I think it could be done and done very well. And if not him, let him suggest somebody. Um, you know, get some good cinematographers out there. There's about 10 of them. Hire Larry Fong, have him do the cinematography. This is create some beautiful shots. Hire whatever team put together, Rebel Moon for less than $162 million. You know, about 7 hours worth of movie, six or 7 hours worth of movie. Um, Pretty close to that anyway. So beautiful shots, beautiful landscapes, beautiful scenery, beautiful effects, everything. And I have no problem with the special effects thing. The idea of that. You want to go watch Troy and see what effects can do? I mean, they were. That's launching 1,000 ships. Now, granted, I didn't count them. I assume there was 1,000 ships out there. But anyway, uh, nevertheless, I do think they could have been closer together and made it look a little more massive. Um, if you know the scene, you know what I'm talking about. And yeah, it's special effects doing that. But it's not like anyway. I've said what I wanted to say in the other uh, review video, and should be done with this here. And I want to do another video for you, just talking about the different translations. Um, just to give you kind of a history of the translations. That's all. It's just be an interesting, fun video. So we'll see you again in the next video. I hope you had a good time. Like, subscribe if you want to. Make a comment below. Tell me what you thought of the movie. What you think of what is your best memory of like a. I'll tell you my memory of it. It's my introduction. I'm not sure where I was introduced to it. It just always baffled me that it was like 20 years, from him leaving to getting back. It's like 20 years. What is taking 20 years? But then especially saying 7 years on Calypso's island. It's like, why in the world is he there for 7 years? Um, and and I think a lot of movies try to play that down because they don't necessarily answer the question. I've watched this movie, The Odyssey, several times, but I have a hard time hearing sometimes. So I don't know if the question was answered, but he said, "How long have I been here?" And the question was asked in Armando Santos too, and it was like there. I feel like there was no answer. As my memory gives me, it's like they don't want to give that number. So I've always kind of perceived this thing, and again, the Trojan War lasting 10 years always kind of baffled me because it happened so quickly. It was quick and over with once the Trojan horse was put there. So that's always baffled me, and I've always felt like you could condense the telling of that to less than 20 years of waiting at home. So, you know, it may be 10 years, 5 years. Sorry, 5 years at war, and then, 5 years on the way back, and everybody else has gotten back within, a year, we'll say. And, and, you know, why is it taking him 5 years? That's always been my thing. That's just, again, that's the way I put it in my brain. So I told the story and was doing a retelling and put some of the character in there and said he goes off to war and it takes him 10 years to get home from leaving for war and gets back. That would be my telling of it. And in that case, yeah, you would have to make the son, there for a number of years. He already knows his father, maybe 10 years old when he leaves or something, and so forth. So you get this congruity, But yeah, it always baffled me that there was like 10 years, or at least that's the way I understood it anyway, 10 or longer years of these suitors just coming and just imposing on the hospitality of Penelope and the household. Like, what in the world is going on here? This is just crazy. So that's my memory of being introduced to the story. It's like, what are you talking about? This is crazy. Of course, I was very little, so what do I know about 20 years anyway? It does actually go by pretty quick. But there it is. You have me. You have what it is, and in watching movies and miniseries in 3 hours, stuff like that, where you have the same actor and doesn't seem to age much anyway. Um, it reinforces that idea to me. Is it doesn't seem like it would take as long as they're trying to say it took, but be that as it may, um, yeah. Uh, so there we are. And anyway, I'll see you in the next video. Go over some different translations, and hopefully you can enjoy that one as well. And yeah, Mm, not sure how to end the video. Anyway, bye.